Okay. Just left Circle K after I had to let the radiator cool down. Put more water in it. I did not have any contact with anyone at Circle K except for a white cashier girl when I went inside to get water for my water jug to put in the truck. Well, the girl with the long black hair, she was at the counter too, and she told me I could get water in the sink. That was the extent of my contact with the two cashiers, and I didn't speak to anybody else inside or outside of Circle K. Or not at anybody, so I gave consent to anything. I didn't purchase gasoline. And all I bought was a pack of Bellas. So gas is now $1.97 a gallon. I don't know the tall black guy with the dreadlocks that came walking by my driver's door with the black cashier with the long wavy black hair. Neither one of them had any contact with me or attempted to when they walked past my vehicle. My windows were all up. It appeared that there was some issue related to the black man with the dreadlocks. I couldn't understand what they were saying though, because they weren't talking loud enough for me to understand their words, and my windows were all up. But I felt like the redheaded cashier left in a big old Chrysler. I thought she was staring at me. And then that black cashier with the long hair, when she walked out, it looked to me like she was looking straight at me. She might have been wondering what I was doing, too, you know, and I'm sitting there. And people work in convenience stores and stuff like that have to be aware of those types of issues because they do get robbed and shot and killed. But she didn't have any contact with me. Even if she was staring at me, she didn't look at me and ask consent for anything. I didn't nod as though I consented to anything. She stopped about right there by my side view mirror here. It appeared to me that she was looking at me, but she may have been because she wanted, curious about my situation. But maybe she saw the water underneath my radiator and realized. But I didn't give her any type of consent or any type of verbal or nonverbal consent to anything. Or the black guy, I didn't know him, never met him before. And didn't meet him today either. What I suspect is that they were staring at me. That's what it looked like. And that was some type of consent. And as soon as they got right here by my mirror, she's like, okay. Looked at him and he said, yeah, okay. That's all I heard, but they said other things too. Then he went running off to a gas pump. But I don't know that because I didn't hear those actual things being said. But even when she got over here, she was still looking at me, which wasn't in the direction of his vehicle. And then she looked at him. So, If you watch the video, that's what it would look like. But just because she walked up by my vehicle doesn't mean that she got any kind of consent from me. And she tried to say, yeah, I tried to make sure it was okay with her. No, you didn't. You just staged it to look that way. Why would she be standing right there looking straight at me and then turn and talk to him and his vehicle's in the other direction at a gas pump? If I asked her, and I've asked, whatever, I don't have any knowledge of that guy's transaction, and I did not give her any type of consent to purchases or anything. And, you know, the truth of it is that I don't think anybody, it wouldn't matter if you have a debit card, nobody cards people for identification. When I was a cashier, we had to card people if they pulled out a credit card. When I was at Kroger's, they had to show their driver's license before they swiped or, you know, used a debit card or anything like that to make payments. Nobody cards people anymore for that, so there wouldn't be any need to get my consent or to come see me and get consent from me for that. So that would be, if that's what she tries to argue, the question would be, why did you need to get her consent? You know, it would have been a done deal, which makes me think, yeah, okay, I'm just crazy, right? She's just looking at me for what reason? She didn't say nothing to me, didn't attempt to communicate with me. So I could go back there and question her, but I've been in these little spats, like with the store manager of that tobacco store. Tried to swear he saw me coming in by a menthol cigarette. Nope. Then he tried to say, well, I'm sure you didn't buy them for somebody and give them to him. And nope. He knew that I hadn't. And they had store cameras there. I went in there one day and there was a redheaded woman who looked like me there with another woman who looked like my Uncle John's wife, Lisa. So that's what it looks like. You know, he could have told me the truth, and he didn't. I'm not going to. People that are hell-bent on being deceptive aren't going to tell you the truth when you tell them you know they're lying. I know, because I've tried many times. And a psychiatrist would say, see, that's a delusion, and what she's doing is finding reasons to negate the possibility of finding out that she's wrong. You know, so that the delusion can continue. And why did that store manager say that to me? That I'm crazy. And that's not the only thing. You can't do stuff like that, make purchases or anything like that without durable power of attorney. You have to have complete legal control of somebody's financial resources, and it has to be established legal control, not just verbal or nonverbal consent. Oh, it's okay. No, people misunderstand things. They can accidentally give consent to something they don't understand. There was a guy I read about that was retarded, that was questioned by police without a lawyer, didn't want a lawyer, confessed to murder, was not guilty, and ended up at a trial for murder based on that confession, and the whole case was thrown out because of that situation. That's why, you know, consent has to be established in court, and that's why we have rules like Mirandizing people. That's why if you're going to spend somebody else's money, you got to go to court, and they got to be there, and they got to be there in person and say they consent. It's not just a nod to say okay. And you really don't even have to ask, you know, or convince a store clerk or anybody like that. Because people use debit cards now, and nobody cards anybody for an ID to see if they're the person whose name is on the card. So, you know, there wouldn't be any reason for a store manager to ask me for my consent to begin with, or a store clerk. I can't believe gas is $1.97 now. I think that's what it was when I was in high school.